This is Lutz and Glory. We are a new skating podcast. We're really excited to do this. We're just going to start with a couple of introductions. There's three of us. My name is Bronwyn. I'm a student at Central Michigan University at the moment. I don't really have much experience with skating personally, but I have I follow it a lot, obviously, to do an entire podcast about it. My favorite skaters are Ashley Wagner, Jason Brown, Tatsuki Muchida, even though he retired. That's pretty much it, and take it away.
My name is Will. I am one of the members of Lutz and Glory. I have limited skating experience. I'm not like Olympic level quality at all. Never will be. But it's something I love to follow. Obviously. My favorite skater is definitely Ashley Wagner. I love Alyssa Sisney. Miss her so much. I like Timothy Gable, and that's about it.
I'm Kathy, and I'm a high school junior. And my skating experience, I've been skating since I was 6 or 7. I signed up for like the basic skills lessons at my rink, but I haven't like competed or anything like that. I did a couple of seasons of synchro though, and I did compete with my synchro team. Um, my favorite skaters, I would say Ashley Wagner, Jeremy Abbott, and I can't think of any others, but maybe like Kira Corpy. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. And we just wanted to start off by briefly discussing the big news of skating today. Stolbova and Klimov out of world. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Wait, what? Kathy, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just, no.
Oh, okay. I just, like, I guess we were all saying today, like, it was, now there's more opportunity for, like, Chinese medals, which is good, but, like, I would have loved to see, like, the duel between Stolbova and Klimov and Duhamel and Radford.
I agree. It's like, now it's going to be a lot easier for Duhamel and Radford to win gold, obviously. They were already pushing ahead of Stolbova and Klimov, and now the next closest person to challenging them would be Kawaguchi and Smirnov, or the Chinese pairs, which the Chinese pairs couldn't touch them at 4 continents.
Right.
So it's very, very likely that Duhamel and Radford are going to win Worlds. Apparently, they did not pull out due to injury, as far as we know. Their coach cited fatigue, and they also wanted to prepare for next season. Their focus is on 2018. So.
Like, something is just fishy. Like, there's no injury. And, like, I don't know. I guess kind of Volosar and Trankov did the same type thing. Like, they kind of just pulled out of this season. I mean,
but Trankov was injured.
Oh,
Trankov
he was
was injured.
Oh, he was, okay. Yeah, but I feel like some of these pairs feared Duhamel. And at this point, definitely Stolbova and Klimov were like lagging a little bit behind, and I don't know if Kawaguchi and Smirnov can like really lay it down at Worlds. There's like a chance if Duhamel and Radford like falter on the day that Kawaguchi and Smirnov could win it, but that's unlikely.
Yeah, I agree, because they've been relatively inconsistent this season. I mean, we did see them win Euros, but that was obviously due to the big mistake from Stolbova Klimov. And I think that, yeah, to me it was really surprising just because I felt like they wanted to.
I think we lost Kathy.
Oh yeah, she just stopped talking.
Yeah, I think we lost Kathy. Oh, you froze in the middle of that. Sorry about that. We're using Google Hangouts just to let that be known. I prefer this to Skype personally because it's a lot easier, but sometimes it has a tendency to freeze. So that might happen.
They're with her.
Yeah, so I was just saying that I thought they would want to redeem themselves at Worlds after a skate like that, but it looks like they're just, done with the season. They want a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now we're going to move on to the other big skating event happened last weekend, 4 continents. That was a very interesting event for a multitude of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
We could start off with the big surprise, Paulina Edmonds winning her first senior international title during this event, skating a very strong free program. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts?
She did like props. Like she was like her and like Zijun and Rika, like they did a good job. They did, and I really think Paulina did deserve that title. Though I do think that Satoko has been all season like way lowballed in program components. I think her program is her free program to Miss Saigon is one of the best this season. Her costume, just her packaging. What Satoko has is like what Paulina needs to be like in that upper echelon of skaters. Like Satoko has the packaging and Satoko has like the costume, the music, the choreography, it's all there. And Paulina like has the consistency, and like she does have more mental stability, I'd say, in competition than Satoko has, despite what happened on the Grand Prix circuit and that short program curse.
Yeah,
in her
yeah,
events.
and I'd agree with that. Paulina is not an unmusical skater. She connects to her music very well. It's just her long program, for me personally, I'm not a fan of it because it's very monotonous. It doesn't really build at all, and I'm not a fan of the the pink dress, the hair jewelry, the hair flowers. It just makes her seem a lot younger than she is, and I think she can handle more mature programs and more mature packaging. I think she's there because she does not ignore her music at all. I think she has some really nice qualities to her skating, but I don't like her packaging this season at all.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Kathy?
I find it a little bit ironic that in interviews this season she's been talking a lot about, puberty and trying to come into her own as a skater. And I don't think this long program is doing her any favors in that department. So I definitely think I'm okay with her short program. I like the music. I like the costume. I think it works for her. It reminds me of her short program last year too. It's like in the same vein. But yeah, next season I would give her, a more mature long program to really present her as someone who's competing with the more experienced skaters, of an older age.
Definitely. I'm thinking something like Gone with the Wind, or like some like sort like possibly a movie soundtrack, or just something that like is more mature. Like we just said, she can definitely handle. I mean, she made the Olympic team. Like, and it's not a fluke. I don't think it's a fluke at all. I think she'll continue to make more Olympic and world teams, hopefully.
Yeah, and now I'd like to move on to the favorite skater of the event, a surprising fourth, Gracie Gold. She faltered in her long program severely. What does this say about her chances going into Worlds?
I mean, obviously it doesn't bode well, but like all season we've been kind of pushing for new stuff from her. I mean, like the long I do have to give her props though at nationals after Ashley went lights out. I mean, that program was one of the best this season by far. In the ladies event, I'd say. But and then Gracie came back and she skated really well at nationals, and I mean she fell once on the flip, but like everything else, her triple was like one of the best ones I'd ever seen her do, and so that's nothing to scuff off. But I think with what happened at Four Continents, like Rika beat her, and like time and time again, the pressure's been on Gracie to do it when she needs to, such as here this weekend. She was in second after the short. She could have done something that was like less than spectacular, like she did at NHK, and still have won this event. But yeah, and just the program, you can tell she's not invested really at all. I mean, it's good choreography. I mean, how can you go wrong with Laura Nickel? But it's great. There's just a disconnect between Gracie and her music and the audience, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Her programs this season, they don't show her. You don't see any personality. In fact, at Four Continents, she almost looked bored, and that's really, really concerning. She wants to do well at Worlds because she does have a chance of medaling if the favorites falter. But she can't go out and look bored, and she has to fight. She has to light that fire in her if she wants a chance of doing well. Because she has the jumps, and she has the technical goods to do well at Worlds. She just does not have the mental toughness. And I'm sure this is things that people have already been saying, but she really needs that mental toughness to move up into that medal contender spot, because right now she's at an outside spot, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching the British Eurosport commentary on YouTube, and one of the commentators said something about okay, so they were arguing about or not arguing, but disagreeing about whether or not Gracie would bring a performance like she did at Four Continents to Worlds, and one of them said that Gracie tends to hold up well under pressure for the events that she sort of places more emphasis on, if that makes sense. She has made comments before about, wanting to focus her training on certain competitions and not as much on others. So maybe I think that may be an aspect of it. It's Four Continents, it's not, a major competition. I can give up the title. I mean, I'm sure she wanted to win, but I think a part of it is that maybe she didn't I don't want to say care about it enough, but maybe she didn't place enough emphasis on, winning and going into Worlds, and maybe she just wants to save her energy for Worlds.
Mm-hmm. Maybe didn't put forth her best effort, probably.
Yeah, we hope that she can put up her best effort, because if she falters too far and Paulina does not place high enough, they could lose that third spot again.
Definitely.
So they really need Gracie to kick it in high gear.
And then not that Ashley, who wasn't here at Four Continents, not that she's a wild card, but there are so many things that are kind of teetering on the edge. Like there's the Let's call, and she's doing 2 of them in the long and 1 in the short. And then there could be the possibility of under rotations. I mean, she does have by far the best component score, and rightfully so, of any of the Americans. But she can't rest on that. So this is just for the 3rd spot. But yeah, should we move on to Dennis?
Yeah, the men's event was phenomenal.
Oh my God, it was so good. Dennis was just like 2013 Worlds.
Yeah,
caliber, even
I'd
better.
have to say those were the best performances of his career, in all honesty. He laid it down. I agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. He just made himself, because nobody knows what state Yuzuru Hanyu is, who's been in the hospital recovering from surgery. He's had injuries. He had the collision. He has been having a rough season, and Dennis could put it together. If he puts it together at Worlds, he could easily take this title.
Definitely. 289, that's huge. That's that would have won him Sochi, and that's a huge score. And that's if Yuzuru is in top form at Worlds and Dennis can replicate this, it's going to be a really, really cool fight. And honestly, I mean, as much as I love Javier, I love his short. The long is it's good. It's good. His long is good. It's not his best work, but I don't when Javi hits the jumps, he gets the component marks. But Dennis's scores were just so big that I don't know. I think Javier has almost kind of established himself as part of the race for the bronze. I almost feel like if Dennis, it's just Dennis and Yuzuru at some point, but either of them can falter easily, especially at Worlds. Yeah, so that's definitely a thing to look out for.
Yeah, and then we of course had the surprise silver medalist, the American Josh Ferris. He also skated two of the best performances of his life at this competition. He was not really expected to medal. He was an outside shot for a medal, but he went and he did the job, and I'd say he just put himself in an outside shot to win a world medal.
Oh, definitely. He got the highest, other than Dennis, he got the highest component scores, and for this, the only thing that the judges have to compare his performances to at Four Continents is what he did at NHK this year, which obviously was less than stellar, but his skating is just so effortless, and it's so beautiful. I really hope he can keep it together for Worlds, because he's definitely in contention. What do you think, Kathy?
I think that Josh, like Dennis, is one of those skaters who, like, when they're on, they're really on, and they have. I admire Josh for his artistry, but he also has the technical goods, and when he puts it together, it's really like the total package. So.
I completely agree. And then we had the bronze medalist, Han Yan from China. He put together two very strong performances. He has, behind Takahiko Kazuka, probably the best skating skills in the field. And he's going into Worlds with a hometown crowd. Well, what do you think about his shot at Worlds?
I think he's got definitely a good shot. The thing I noticed, though, in his long, was that, I mean, he has one of the best triple axels I've ever seen. Like, he doesn't just go up, but he goes out. Like, that thing travels like, God, it must be like 8 feet. It's amazing. Even like on a TV, you can't really see that stuff. Like you can, but it's more noticeable if you go to a competition like in person and see that. It's easier to notice like the height on jumps, but oh my God, he has such just raw natural ability, and component wise too, obviously. But the thing I noticed in his long is that once, I don't remember at which point it was in the long program, but he kind of just started making little mistakes, and I don't know if that's a stamina issue or not. But I mean, it's just a thing to look out for. But he was great, great here, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I don't love his long program this season. I think yeah, I would agree with that. It's not horrible, but it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Like next season, I'd love to see him try and go out maybe a little less gimmicky. Find something that can showcase those amazing skating skills and that amazing triple axel. Definitely. That would be what I would hope for him to improve on in the future. But as of now, I think he has a very solid shot at a world medal, especially because he's going to get that hometown boost. That he's going to have the crowd behind him if he skates well. If he has to skate like almost lights out. But I do think he has a outside shot as well. I think the caliber of this competition, of the men's competition, I think it helped place Four Continents because it does tend to be looked at as the lesser counterpart to European championships. But with this men's competition, it made it much more prestigious and much more, because all the performance out here completely outclassified the Euros podium. And so, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Like the Russians who won silver and bronze at Europeans would have been like 7th and 8th, or like 8th and 9th at Four Continents. Like and then that makes fans more excited to watch Worlds. The competition for the men, especially if they all hit, is going to be awesome. But yeah, surprise flops. Nam, he's been really consistent all season. So what did you guys think of his short program? He fought back in the long, but the short that was undoing.
When I first watched his short program, I was really surprised because he's been hitting like the jumps all season, and it's sort of uncharacteristic of him to skate a short program like that. And I don't know what the issue is. I think he can bounce back from it, but this was just not his competition. And he did come back in the free, like you said, but it wasn't enough, and he ended up in I think 11th place. So yeah, not ideal for him.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I actually like his short program, but I think he went for the quad in the short program for the first time this season, and I remember Brian Orser saying to him in the Kiss and Cry, putting the quad out in the short program is for the first time is really hard. And I think that's what threw him off. It'll be really interesting to see if he does go for the quad again in the short program at Worlds.
And I think that was definitely obviously Jason's undoing here, because Corey Aid was just kind of like, oh, you're going to do this now in the short. And it really plays with your psyche and your approach to competition. You have to change everything mentally.
I completely agree, but I feel like the difference between Nam and Jason is the fact that Nam has a quad, and it's like he's proven it in competition before. That was Jason's first outing with a quad.
In competition
ever. And especially because with Jason, it felt rushed, because he obviously won United States Nationals without a quad, and he got a lot of criticism for that. So I felt like Corey and Jason, it's good that they're getting it out in competition, but it clearly was not ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of curious as to why they decided to put it in the short, because there's obviously like less room for error in the short than in the long. And if you're gonna put a quad for the first time in international competition, like wouldn't you want to put it somewhere where if you messed up, then it wouldn't like cost you as much, if that makes sense?
Oh, I completely agree. I think it's because of the layout of this long program, it would have been harder. However, I would have tried to find a way to rearrange that so that way he can do the quad in the long program, because if you're going to go for the quad, you should try to make it as least risky as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like this choice that Corey made for him, Jason just kind of like, he was just like, oh, I was scared, but I did it anyway because she's my coach and I have to. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he should have had a little bit more say. And I feel like if this is going to happen, it would have been better at like Liberty or like some like senior B, senior C like summer event, or maybe even the Grand Prix. There's really not much at stake, especially in the summer competitions, and that's when you can go out and really make choices like he did here. So yeah, I don't know if this is the best placement, the best time for the quad in the show.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Now, we also had a trio of Japanese men competing at Four Continents. We had Shoma Uno, who finished second in the short program, kind of a surprise there, but then he faltered a bit in the free program, ended up in fifth. We also had Daisuke Murakami finish in fourth after a really strong free program, but he is not going to Worlds. And then we also had Takahito Mura, also not the best performances. We have not seen the same Mura as we did at Skate Canada. Now, what are your thoughts on these Japanese men, and what are your thoughts on Mura's chances at Worlds, and what do they have to do going forward?
I think out of the three skaters, Shoma has the most like effortless carriage, and like he just carries himself like a senior. He really does, like a seasoned competitor. And he's been just amazing in competition. First time on the senior circuit, he wasn't even on the senior Grand Prix circuit. And he reminds me of Daisuke Takahashi, just like the effortlessness with which he skates and of his blade, and oh god, his skating is just beautiful, and I think I'm really excited to watch him develop. As for Daisuke Murakami, I mean, he had a great skate here, but he's kind of like, I don't know, he's a little inconsistent because he had NHK, but then he had Japanese nationals, and that's the reason he's not going to Worlds. And then he had this great free program at four continents. But out of the three of these Japanese men, though, I think his long program is like the weakest in construction. Because it's kind of like Frank Carroll, like jump spin. Like it's kind of a basic structure that kind of loses you. Like you want to see something interesting. And I think Shoma and Mura do more interesting skills with more and it has an interesting layout. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree about Shoma. He's really proved himself to be like a breakthrough skater this season, but I think the overall issue with the Japanese men at this point, maybe excluding Yuzuru, is that their short and long programs, they don't seem to be equally strong. Like they'll be strong in one and like falter in the other, and that is a really like it makes for good competition, but like exciting competition, but it's very precarious in the sense that like you never know which one it's gonna.
Oh, I think we lost him again.
Oh man. Okay. But yeah, no, I agree. Mura in particular is someone I'm hoping that will do really well because we saw what he can put out at Skate Canada this season. He won that event over Javier. So I would really love to see him put it together, especially because he wasn't originally on the world's team, as we know. Tatsuki Machida, apparently when my favorite randomly retires in the middle of the season, I forget his name. No, Tatsuki Machida, he retired obviously, and Mura got that spot because Tatsuki retired. So I'd love to see him do well and fight back.
Definitely. Moving on to the pairs now. This is a really interesting competition. Why don't we start with the Americans? I think there's definitely more promise in American pair skating than there has been in previous years. Definitely like the past 5 years.
I agree. Shimeka and Kaniram, they obviously are adding to their technical content with that quad twist in the long program, and now with Stolbova and Klimov out, if Denny and Frazier skate well at Worlds, I think there is an outside shot that the pairs could get three spots back, but it would require both of them skating near perfect.
Yeah, because they both like. It's kind of the same thing with what happened with Takahito, is that Denny and Frazier were so great at Skate America, and they haven't really lived up to that any other time this season. At Nationals, they were good, but I do think they were cheated out of a medal at Cup of Russia, though. I feel like the judges there were really shooting for that Russian sweep. I thought they were like 100th out of bronze, and I think they should have been the silver medalists there, which would have been a Grand Prix final spot. That would have been really, really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I think Denny and Frazier and Shimeka and Kaniram, they've had kind of opposite trajectories this season. Because Denny and Frazier started off really strong at Skate America, whereas Shimeka and Kaniram didn't even medal there. But the difference is that Denny and Frazier have not been improving on that result, whereas Shimeka and Kaniram have been constantly getting better, adding that quad twist and everything.
they scored like 124.44, I think, in the long at four continents, and that's better than what most American pairs have been putting up in past seasons. But pair skating in the world, it's definitely one of the deepest fields. There aren't really, other than I'd say Duhamel and Radford and Stolbova and Klimov, who are out of worlds, there aren't really like leaders in the pairs world. And I think that definitely is conducive to like, again, really good competition and like exciting programs because everyone is really good. And with that in mind, let's talk about the three Chinese teams and especially the return of Peng and Tong, which I was so happy to see. So happy to see them back.
Yeah, and they honestly skated better than I had expected. Nobody knew what shape they were going to be coming in. They were a complete wild card. They ended up with a medal at the end of the day, and it was fantastic. Such gorgeous programs. I think everyone I've seen was thrilled to see them back, and now we're kind of wondering, with Stolbova and Klimov out, where could they finish at Worlds, especially in front of that hometown crowd?
Yeah, definitely.
We also have Sui and Han. Also, they could also win. They did not win a medal at Four Continents, unfortunately, but they also have that quad twist. They have their short program is one of my favorite pair short program this season. Love it a lot. Suits them so well.
And they're so committed to their programs. They're so committed to their elements and to the style and the character of the program. Like their short program is so cool. It's so cool, and they fit that. And they back it up with like amazing technical elements. Like their throw triple flip is like they and Savchenko and Zelkovic, I think, have two of the best throw triple flips I've ever seen. Huge dynamic skating, and it's really, really exciting. And I think if they can clean up, I think they had an invalidated spin in the long, and that's why we were also confused when we were watching the event. We were like, why did their technical score just go down like 6 points? What just happened? So if they can clean that up, I think they'll definitely be heavy contenders at Worlds.
Yeah, I was expecting them, honestly, to medal at Four Continents. I'm glad Peng Tong did, because they made a great comeback, obviously. But like you guys said, Sui Han's short program, it's so full of character, but at the same time, it's not like cheesy or gimmicky. And I think it's something that a lot of people can really get into, if that makes sense. Like, it's a crowd pleaser, and they seem to really enjoy skating it, and that's something that's like super important in the sport, is your connection to the actual program. And we talk a lot about skaters who, don't have that musicality or don't have that connection to their music. But yeah, this isn't a problem for them.
Yeah, I agree. And then also there's the third Chinese team, Heng and Zhang. They also skated very well. I think out of the three, they have the best shot at a medal at Worlds based on what we've seen, but they have to go clean to get it.
Definitely. I think a thing that they have on their side, along with Sui and Han, is they have the season. Peng and Tong, this is their first competition of the season, and it's kind of like Michelle Kwan not competing on the Grand Prix and then just coming out of nowhere. Well, actually, Peng and Tong, they like retired. They retired after Sochi and then came back because Worlds are in Shanghai. But yeah, I think Peng and Zhang definitely have the judges on their side, but not as in like, I meant they have the judges on their side in the fact that the judges have seen them compete and progress and grow as the season has gone on. And I think that's definitely to their advantage at Worlds. And I like their style. I like their program. I love their long program. I like the music. Like, I think people have skated to it before, but they definitely make it their own and make it unconventional. It's really creative, interesting choreography, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Even though their short program music is a bit monotonous also, they actually managed to pull it off very well. I love some of the choreography in that a lot.
It's kind of like Bolero. Like if you can do Bolero's like, oh my god. Like if you're like Carolina, Torval, and Dean, like those Boleros. where the music, if you listen to the music and it's like, this is beautiful, but it's been going on for 10 minutes and I want to kill someone because like it is monotonous. But it isn't monotonous if someone like Torval and Dean or Carolina can skate to it. If you can skate up to the music, but you really hear the monotony in the music if you can't do that. And I think they do a good job of definitely living up to their music.
All right. And now, is there any other pairs you guys would like to talk about? We saw two Canadian pairs kind of a duel for that. We had Kirsten Moore-Towers and Dylan Moskovich, but on different teams. What are your thoughts on that?
Kathy, do you want to start it?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I don't know a ton about the Canadian pairs, but I think at this point, Dylan and Lubov are clearly the stronger team. Well, not clearly, but they seem to be the stronger team as of now. And I think that if they continue improving as they have, it'll be exciting to see what they do, in the season to come.
I think in the short with the Canadian pairs, Dylan and Lubov and Kristen and Michael, they had the exact same technical score, but Dylan and Lubov beat them because of program components. And Dylan and Kristen, or is it Kirsten or Kristen?
Kirsten. And
Kirsten and Michael have been out more they've been out in competition way more often in like major like Grand Prix. The judges know them better, and the fact that Dylan and Lubov still got higher component scores really shows the disparity between the two teams in skating skills. And definitely skating skills, and I'd say interpretation too. I think I'm not the biggest advocate of Kirsten and Michael's long program. I think again with like it's like chess and they're wearing black and white, and like it's kind of like it's one of those like it wasn't really the best choice. And they fell a lot after the long in the standings. I think they were I don't remember the exact result, but I think they were 6th after the short, and then like 9th overall after the long. They fell behind both American teams who didn't have the greatest of programs either. But yeah, I think it definitely speaks volumes to their potential and what they can do at Worlds. But yeah, I think Dylan and Lubov definitely have the edge.
Yeah, I agree. I like both teams. I do like, I'm a fan of Kirsten and Michael's short program. I love seeing skaters use lesser known songs from the more popular known musicals. Like, I never would have thought to do a cell block tango program, but I love it. But obviously, Lubov and Dylan are more complete at this time, which is very interesting because you'd expect it to be the other way around. But I'm hoping that Kirsten and Michael can get it together for next season because I do like them. I'd love to see them do well. And then we'll have to see how Lubov and Dylan do at Worlds.
Definitely.
All right.
Let's move on to the dance. This was a really interesting short dance. Really interesting. I think, let me start with the shibs. Okay. The Shibutanis, like, what's more to say? They're so underestimated. Like, they have such phenomenal interpretation. I mean, granted, their free dance isn't the best. I think it's one of those, Marina Zueva has too many students, so I'm going to give you, like, a subpar short program, free program. I think that was kind of the case this season. Because their short dance is just amazing. They're, like, every time off the performance has been incredible.
I completely agree. I love that and Ilyunik and Gigantin's short dance. Those are my two favorite short dances of the season by far, especially with so many Paso Dobles. But yeah, no, they go out and like usually Alex is the one who is selling it like crazy. I remember with their Michael Jackson program, Alex was always making these like crazy faces and Maya was just trying to keep up, but here they're equal and they both feed off each other. They both have this nailed. But then you get to the free dance and it's not, I get what they were trying to do with it. And I don't dislike the idea I don't like the music, and I don't think that the choreography is enough to carry the music, because it also does not build. But unlike, for example, Pang and Jang's, whose music doesn't really build either, choreography is not strong enough to sustain it.
Mm-hmm. And I think this was one of their best free dances, though, this season, I'd say. It was, like, one of the more enjoyable ones. But yeah, I remember the Eurosport commentators talking about this one time, how it's really hard with brother-sister teams to, like, manufacture the chemistry that you need to definitely get those interpretation scores. But they have this, like, not chemistry, obviously, but, like, they have this charisma, and they have this, like, star quality about them, and carriage, definitely, the type that Soma has, where their skating is just effortless, and they definitely, like you said, Bronwyn, definitely feed off each other, and that really makes them exciting and dynamic and very, very much, very, very watchable and aesthetically pleasing for sure.
So going off of that, I've heard that too, the whole thing about how it's harder for sibling teams to, present themselves and be strong like competitors, because they have relatively limited music choices, romantic programs. They can't portray certain types of characters, but I think it almost speaks to their ability as skaters, that they can rise above that challenge, and they can produce such incredible programs like we saw in their short. And I definitely agree with you guys. The short does seem to be stronger. It really plays off their strengths, and it stands out, as you guys said, from the whole crowd of pasodobles. And yeah, so this competition was really good for them. It was an improvement, even though they did not do the best in the free. They didn't perform ideally, but they still received personal best. And it was really exciting to see, because they've been sort of they haven't been getting their levels all season, and it's been kind of frustrating as viewers of the sport to see that happen to them. But I think they really came back strong at this competition.
Yeah, I personally would have put them first after the short program or the short dance. I do think that they had a little bit of reputation judging, as is with dance. But I would have personally had them first after the short program. But Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, they finished first in the short dance. Obviously, they're the national champions. What are your thoughts on Chalk and Bates?
Like, they're good. They're very good. They wouldn't be in this position if they weren't good skaters. Their short dance just isn't as captivating as the Shibutanis. And this does not happen with dance a lot, but with the Shibutanis, I'm watching and I'm invested and I'm interested the whole time. And that doesn't really happen with Chalk and Bates' short dance. It does with their free dance. I think I like their free dance more than their short dance. And I liked their costumes here at Fort Continence better than what they had previously in this season. But I think the thing that definitely speaks volumes towards their chances at Worlds is the fact that they were leading after the short and then slipped behind Weaver and Pojay, even though they posted their best, I believe it was also a personal best and season best. I think they've definitely fallen behind a little bit, fallen in back of Weaver and Pojay, and probably also Papagiakis and Sulivan at this point. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing is about Chalk and Bates is that it's not very much like, it doesn't feel like an equal partnership. Madison Chalk, Maddie has all the star power. She is a star, but she does not have the greatest skating skills. Whereas Evan Bates, on the other hand, he has fantastic, very strong skating skills, but he doesn't really have the charisma that really feeds off of her. It's like he presents Maddie well, but I'd love to see more from him, and I'd love to see her improve her skating skills because they're very unequal in those aspects, and it doesn't really translate well for me personally. I do like their free program for the most part. It's sexy American in Paris. It's a little out there, but I find myself not hating it.
Mhm.
So that's my thoughts personally. What about you, Kathy?
I think what you said about the unequal partnership, I think that's a really good point. And to me, that's what Weaver and Poje have that they don't. So that might be an advantage over them. And it's just, I don't know. I'm personally a fan of chalk baits, but I might be the minority. But I think what their brand of skating is very unique in that they sort of they're not storytellers so much as performers, and I think that they're not they're not focusing on necessarily the narrative behind the music, but rather the feel of it, and they're very effective at capturing sort of the feel of the music, but the nuances and the sort of changes in music, I wouldn't say that that is what they're better at portraying. So I think that is what Poje can do, and that aren't.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I was just about to say, and that's what Weaver and Poje can do so well. Their programs, though, they're not my favorite. They're one of my favorites this season, but not one. Their programs this year are kind of forgettable. I love the choreography in the free dance. I believe Shaylin Bourne choreographed it, and I just love all of her. I love what she does, especially across all disciplines. I love what she's done with Ashley's programs, Ashley's free program this year, and it's just innovative new stuff. And I find myself definitely watching and also invested and interested in their free dance. But unlike Chalk and Bates, they have they have this sort of like they have this confidence that Chalk and Bates like they're competitors. I'd say I think Weaver and Poje are really good competitors, and not that Chalk and Bates aren't, but Weaver and Poje carry themselves like champions, whereas Chalk and Bates are kind of like, are we second tier? Are we like behind them? That's just kind of how it happens, and that's kind of what happened this weekend at Fort Conference. But Weaver and Poje were great. They really were, as they have been all season. I believe they're undefeated. But they're just kind of like they're good and they're there. But again, there's just kind of that void of like Marilyn, Charlie, and Tessa and Scott. But it is nice to have to see other dance teams definitely having a chance. I think my favorite team this season is Papadakis and Cicerone, even though they weren't here since they're European. But yeah. Oh, and also let's talk about Caitlin and John Luke, who had a really strong showing here in both programs.
Yeah, I agree. I love that free dance. I know that the romantic, pretty theme, it is overplayed a bit, but I feel like it suits them so well. The costume, the packaging is great. I am obsessed with her dress. I want one like it. But they had a very strong senior debut in my opinion. I just think that they were unlucky this season that the short dance was the paso because I don't feel like that dance really suits them at all. And I think that didn't really help with their debut, but I think they had a very strong season overall, and I cannot wait to see them develop in the future.
Yeah, and they're really great in the free dance, and like you said, the entire package it just works, and I love their presentation, I love their dance, the music, and even though it's been used before, obviously they really make it their own. And as a team that's competing on the senior level for the first season, it's really impressive how they've managed to, carry themselves. And also the fact that they were able to come back from the short is really indicative of what they can do as competitors. The pressure doesn't phase them. And I think that's a really important aspect of competing. So I'm excited to see what they'll do in the future.
Definitely. I think it's the short dance this season with something like a waltz or like something like that. They would have definitely fared a lot better. They still got a Grand Prix medal, placed in the top 5 at 4 continents. Their second, like, big international competition this season. So I definitely think they're nice to watch for the future, and I'm just such a fan of their long program. They just have everything. Everything is there. But yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I said, they had a very good senior debut season. Altogether, their season is over now because Hubble and Donahue are going to Worlds, placing 3rd at Nationals. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and where Caitlin and Jean-Luc will end up placing, maybe next year even. Is that all we have to say about 4 continents? Or are there any other thoughts you guys have?
I still say.
All right, so we're just going to do a brief Junior Worlds preview now. I don't think we're going to be covering a full recap of Junior Worlds. However, we're just going to do a brief little preview, talk about some of the disciplines. Obviously, the biggest showcase of the event is the men's event, with Shoma Uno heavily favored to win gold. There's also a bunch of very strong competitors. We have Nathan Chen from the U.S. We have Adrian Pitkiev. We have Boyang Jin. There's a lot of people who could easily end up on that podium, and it's going to be a very interesting event.
Yeah, and we can see that the Junior Grand Prix final is a strong indicator for Junior Worlds, but obviously there are exceptions. And I think this season it's more of a wild card as to who could get, especially that bronze medal, because, we're pretty sure that Shoma is a lock for gold, but, silver could go to Soda probably, maybe Pitkiev, but bronze is really sort of a toss-up, so that'll be.
Yeah, I actually think that Boyang Jin could win a medal here if he lands because his jumps are very good when he lands his jumps. I think Pitkiev could also medal because it depends. A lot of these men have quads, which is pretty surprising in my opinion. There are very few people at the top without quads. The only couple I can think of are Sota Yamamoto and even Nathan Chen, but Nathan Chen's quad is a wild card. We don't know. If he pulls that out, he's going to end up on the podium. Just depends on if he can hold it together and if he's recovered from his injuries from nationals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think he attempted that quad and it was so ambitious to do it at like sectionals. So we know he has the ability, and he also has that charisma and that quality that really captivates you. And I think I don't know if he can challenge Shoma, but if he can go clean, he will definitely be on that podium. Yeah, and I'm a fan of his programs too. I'm a fan of what he's been able to produce this season and in the past. I'm really excited to see how he does next season and especially at senior nationals. I'm excited to see his career grow from this point.
Yeah, so the ladies discipline looks like it's going to be an equally strong field, with the 3 Russian girls and the Americans and the Japanese. What are your guys' thoughts on that, and who do you want to see? Who are you looking forward to seeing?
I think I'm speaking for all of us when we are all most excited to see Karen Chen. She won a bit of a surprise bronze medal at U.S. Nationals. She beat Polina Edmonds, and the only reason she's not going to Worlds is because she does not reach the age requirement. But I feel like she is the strongest threat to stopping that Russian sweep that might happen for the 3rd year in a row. When she's on, she is very, very solid, and her spins are fantastic. I'm really excited to see how this works out with her, Karen.
Oh my God, her free at nationals was so great. I mean,
especially because she had to skate that after Marai's accident. She had to go with this, this crowd who had just witnessed this really heartbreaking free program, and then she got them back in it, and she got back in it.
Oh, of course, and like the way she composes herself. She walks on. She is so businesslike. like as she was done with the program as if she like expected that to happen. She was like, yeah, like I just did that and it was amazing and you all saw it but like I know what I can do. But it's not like show offy or like cocky at all. It's very like authoritative and business like, but it doesn't leak into her performance at all. Like her performance isn't business-like in the sense that she's not keeping to herself. She's emoting. She's definitely not like behind this wall. So I definitely think she has a shot to definitely win a medal, maybe even win the title. But I'd say the main contender here at this Junior World Championship would probably be Medvedeva.
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Adelina Sotnikova, personally. I'm not sure. I think it's because she looks similar to Adelina, but there's something about her skating that just is very reminiscent of Adelina. I'm excited to see her compete as well. She put out very strong performances all season. I think she even won a bronze at Russian Nationals, if I remember correctly. So I am very excited to see how she goes. There's also the other Russian women. There's Serafina Sakhanovich. She also has a very good shot at medaling. I think I would expect her to be on the podium as well. She finished in the silver medal position at the Grand Prix final. There's also Maria Satskova, who hasn't really been skating as well this season, but she does have the 2013 the Grand Prix final champion for the juniors. I think that she could do well if she puts it together, but she hasn't been having the strongest season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she can definitely factor into the medals if she puts it down. But I think Yevgenia and Serafima are kind of locks for medals. They would have to have meltdowns, I think, not to medal. They're both just so dynamic, and they're both so senior-like in the way they skate. Their programs aren't junior programs; they're senior programs, in my opinion. Yeah, Satskova, I think does have to step it up a notch from what she's done earlier this season. What do you think, Kathy?
Yeah, it's interesting because these girls have sort of been neck and neck, especially Sima and Evgenia. But at Russian Junior Nationals, Satskova actually beat Sima, so that was interesting. I don't know if she had an off day or it was what it was, but I think these girls have really got a strong rivalry going on, and it would push them, I hope it pushed them in a positive direction to, challenge each other technically and artistically. But like you guys said, their programs, especially Sima's and Evgenia's, they strike me as very well-rounded. Often we talk about even some of the senior ladies having, quote-unquote juniorish programs, and it whether they be, in the artistry or the components or the technical element. But I think these girls, it's really exciting because even at the junior level, they're putting out such strong content, and they're really setting themselves up for strong senior careers, later down the road.
I completely agree. And then we also have some of the Japanese ladies competing. Wakawa Higuchi, who ended up with a kind of a surprise bronze at the Junior Grand Prix final. She also ended up with the bronze at Junior Japanese Nationals as well, and she won Japanese Junior Nationals. She is a jumper. Her jumps are so solid.
Her technique is amazing. She has such phenomenal buoyancy in her knees to just flick right up into that Lutz. And I think, and what happened at Japanese Nationals, she popped that first Lutz, and the rest of the program was flawless. She does not let anything faze her. She does not become unglued just from one mistake. So she's definitely one of the best Japanese jumpers and one of the best Japanese competitors, junior or senior, this season. She has a big shot at a medal.
Yeah, we're also going to be seeing Yuka Nagai at Junior Worlds, and she was at Four Continents, which we just covered. But what do you guys think of her programs this season?
I love her. I'm sorry, I cut you off because I got excited. I love Yuka. I love her programs. She, not only does she have the great skating, very nice skating. She also has very good jumps. Her only problem is that she has a tendency to pop them. But she has such nice height and she has such nice jumps. I'd love to see her put it together because she has an outside shot to medal if the favorites falter. But I just really want to see her skate well because I love those programs a lot.
I love especially her short program. Most East of Eden programs. I just love the music so much that it takes it. You'd have to like really not do a good job to mess that music up. But I think she just does such a good job of living up to that music, and I love her costume. She also has great packaging, and her free program is like it's like subdued a little bit, but there's like a strength, there's a little fire underneath her, that's especially evident in the free. And she also has phenomenal technique, so I'm really excited to see what she can do at Junior World.
Yeah, Yuka's one of those skaters that she's really captivating for me because she has, a little bit of everything, and I could definitely see her, growing throughout the future seasons, but the potential is definitely there. And as a competitor, I think she could challenge for a lot of titles, and I think that she has she has room to grow, like I said, but it's the base is there. So what she has as of right now is already very solid.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm so excited to see her develop as well because she has that innate connection to the music. That's where a lot of the base for quote unquote artistry happens. You have to start somewhere, and she has a very solid base, and she also has gorgeous jumps. It's just I want her to keep it together so badly. I worry about her popping, but I really like her. And moving on to the pairs, there's a couple of favorites, and very interesting. You and Jin competed on the Senior Grand Prix, made it to the Senior Grand Prix final, skated very well all season, but the return of Pang and Tong pushed them to Junior Worlds, and now they're trying to defend their title, and now they have to adjust to junior layouts. What are your guys' thoughts on you and Jin?
I absolutely love them. They're free pro. I love their costumes. They're just I don't know. I don't know what it is, but something about them is very endearing, and it's very raw. Like they wear their hearts on their sleeves when they skate, I think, and they have such great connection and chemistry, and they're easy to forget sometimes because there's just so many good, really, really strong Chinese pairs teams out there. It's easy to forget about you and Jin, but they're really, really lovely. And there was also I don't think they're going to Junior Worlds this year, but the Wangs, who competed on the Senior Grand Prix, also kind of like you and Jin, easy to forget, but they're also so lovely since the Chinese pairs team is so deep. But yeah, I think you and Jin are definitely contenders for that gold medal Junior Worlds.
Yeah, it's just wondering if they'll be able to adjust to junior layouts so quickly. Especially with, like, for example, in the short program, the double side-by-side double Lutz is actually required in the short program, which they haven't been doing at all this season. So they got to try and get that done this season. There's also the Junior Grand Prix final champions. They actually won a bronze at Canadian Nationals, Seguin and Bilodeau. They're also going to Senior World, so we'll see them there. But what are your thoughts on them?
They won the Junior Grand Prix. They beat out like 2 or 3 Russians, I think, by like 10 points. Was the next lowest Russian, and they have great consistency, and 2 really strong programs. Definitely contenders, medal contenders at Junior Worlds. And Canadian pairs, that's deep. They're good teams. And I think they beat Kirsten and Michael at Canadian Nationals, and
Yeah.
and they're going to both Junior Worlds and Senior Worlds, and I'm really excited to see them. They have a really nice long program.
What I find interesting about them is that Julianne Seguin actually competed on the Senior Grand Prix as a single skater, but she skated at Skate Canada, I believe. That was the only place she skated at. But I really hope that she ends up choosing, like, she'll have to choose, obviously. I think it's more likely that she'll choose pairs, but I really hope that she does, because they're already going to Senior Worlds, which is incredible.
Right. Definitely. And I think, Christy Yamaguchi, who had the same predicament in like 1989, 1990, where she had to choose between continuing with pairs with Rudy or being a single skater. I mean, obviously she made the right choice, but I think Julianne has already had so much success, obviously making that Senior World team for Canada. Like, you're representing one of the best countries in the world in pair skating at Senior World Championships. And they won the Junior Grand Prix final, and they're still going to Junior World. So I think she should definitely continue with pairs. Yeah, they definitely have a lot of promise. And another team, two other American teams that also have a lot of promise are Chelsea Liu and Brian Johnson and Fields and Stevens. They also are both really good. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I did not get the chance to watch Fields and Stevens, but it's amazing that they paired up 6 months ago and they already won a junior national title. I do think that Liu and Johnson, it's more likely that they'll place better than Fields and Stevens, because Liu and Johnson, they made that junior Grand Prix final, which is amazing for an American pair. But yeah, I'm intrigued by Fields and Stevens. I don't think they have the technical content. I don't think they have the technical content to medal, but I want to see them skate well. I really want to see where they'll go from here, especially because they are such a new pair.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see what they did at nationals, considering they, had paired up so recently. But I think that Lou Johnson just have the edge in that they are more experienced, and obviously as a pairs team, that experience can be what makes the difference. Knowing, just having been with your partner longer, and so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
All right. And then we also have, we're going to talk a little bit about the ice dance. It's pretty obvious to say that Anna Yavnovskaya and Sergei Mozgov most likely are going to win. They won the senior medal, the silver medal, sorry about that, the silver medal at Junior Worlds behind Caitlin Hwayak and Jean-Luc Baker last year. They seem to be second in line for that. Yeah, it would be a complete shocker if they didn't win, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think it's a little bit the case of what happened on the senior dance circuit this year. There's that void of Caitlin and Jean-Luc, who moved up to senior. And now Yanovskaya and Mozgov are kind of like Weaver and Poge, in that they've definitely, I'd say Weaver and Poge aren't as dominant as Yanovskaya and Mozgov have been this season, comparatively. But they both have definitely stepped through that door. And yeah, Yanovskaya and Mozgov won the Junior Grand Prix final by 12 points. And it was a really tight battle between them and Caitlin and Jean-Luc last year at Junior World. So I think they're definitely lots. But there was a Russian sweep at the Junior Grand Prix final this year. And so those teams definitely also have a shot at the medal at Junior World.
Yeah, I agree. There's also probably more of a shot we have coming from the Canadian dance teams and the American dance teams. The team I'm really rooting for at Junior Worlds was last year's Junior Worlds bronze medalist Madeline Edwards and Xiao Kai Peng. I love their programs this year a lot. I think that free program is really mature and sets them above the rest of the field, in my opinion, but they have been struggling to get their levels a lot this season. They only finished 5th at the Junior Grand Prix final, which is kind of concerning.
I don't know a lot about them or their programs, but I'm really I'm interested to see how they do at Junior World, and I'm interested to see their programs now.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's also Lorraine McNamara and Quinn Carpenter, the junior dance champions. Kathy, do you want to talk about them? I know that they're from them and the Parsons are from your area, so.
They train at Wheaton, which is a rink that I sometimes skate at, and yeah, I've seen personally the Parsons is I've seen them practice, but I haven't seen McNamara Carpenter. I just think both teams have pretty exciting programs, but as far as competing at the elite competitions, I don't see them on the podium at Junior Worlds, but it's still interesting even as, maybe that second tier, to see them like put out just in like programs that you wouldn't expect. It's just, especially the Parsonses, their short program, I think it's I think it's the African like dance music or something. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's just really interesting to watch. Sorry, that was not. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we have Worlds coming up, and also after Junior Worlds, we're gonna see obviously our favorite skater, Ashley Wagner. We'll also see her. She, Elizaveta Tukumesheva, and Elena Radionova. They are obviously the favorites for the podium, so we're very excited to see them play out. We'll also see Annabelle Kuralaya. Okay. We'll also see Satoko Miyahara again. We'll see Rika Hongo. We'll see Kanako Murakami. And we'll also see Gracie Gold and Polina Edmonds. Very excited to see how that will shake out.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be a really, really fun competition to watch. The Russians have just they've just brought it this season. It's really nice to see, especially from Elizaveta, after having a disastrous national championships last year. She and Adelina were kind of the two front runners, especially in juniors, for a while. And to see her finally live up to her potential this season has been great. They have just such an amazing. They definitely have the rivalry of the season.
I agree.
And they're just so back and forth, and it's so exciting for them. And their skating is really great. I prefer Elizaveta. I think she has great choreography. Her Lutz is like incredible. Her Lutz is phenomenal. But I think Elena has that like X factor, that quality that you can't teach. You really can't. And she has, I think, and she has the spins, with Elizabeth really isn't the strongest spinner. But I think Elena's skating is it feels a little bit more effortless than Elizabeth's skating. So yeah, they're definitely the two. I think they're probably going to go 1 and 2 unless either of them have some meltdown, which likely won't happen. And now we hear news of Elizaveta trying this triple axel, and the video that we've seen of her at the Bavarian Open practices, I think, with doing the triple axel double toe. I mean, that's just amazing. What are your thoughts on that?
It's one of the best ladies triple axels I think we've seen, honestly. It's explosive, but it's also controlled.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Very controlled. It'll be very interesting to see if she tries that. She did try it at the Bavaria Open. She did fall on it, but it's been out in competition already. So it'll be really interesting to see if she does that, because I think if she does the triple axel and she nails it like she's been doing it in practice from what we've seen, she has that world title locked up.
Oh, definitely. And I just marvel at her stamina. She's competed so many times this season. I don't know how she doesn't have like incredibly severe jet lag, and she's still able to put down these great program after program. It's just been amazing. And then at Russian Nationals, there was just obviously cutthroat competition. Like Elizaveta doubled the triple toe, and that's what cost her the title. I mean, it's stuff like that really, really nitpicky stuff. That is the difference between her and Radio. And obviously, another contender for that podium is Queen Ashley. Queen Ashley Wagner.
Yeah. We love Ashley. We love her a lot.
Here at Lutz and Glory.
Here at Lutz and Glory. Yeah, we try our best to stay neutral, but we can't stay neutral when it comes to Ashley, obviously. We love her. But yeah, no, the only problem is that we don't really know how international judges will respond to Ashley's Lutz toe. That is my biggest concern personally, because I think she's been getting more height from the triple Lutz, from the triple Lutz triple toe combination than she has been from the triple flip triple toe combination. However, that Lutz edge it's pretty close sometimes. There are times where I would have been like, during nationals, I was like, I would have given her an edge call, but.
Or at least the exclamation point, like the.
Yeah, I agree.
Thing, because it is much better. It really is. Because in the past, it would either just be flat or like in. And you're like, that's not the Lutz. But her and Raph are definitely working really hard to fix that, and she's just so motivated and determined. And after Japan Open, and even after Skate Canada, when none of us were really huge fans of this program, she's just proved herself at the Grand Prix final, at nationals. I mean, her nationals performance had to have been one of the best at nationals since Michelle. Honestly, I mean, it was just so electric. The 4 minutes feels like 30 seconds on it. It just like that. She just grabs you, doesn't let you go. And the choreography, Shaylin Bourne, she did such a great job. What are your thoughts, Kathy?
I'm so impressed with the way she's improved this season. I mean, obviously, you talked about the Japan Open. That was disastrous for her. And then we saw at her first Grand Prix, Skate Canada, she didn't even have a triple Lutz in either of her programs. And to get from that point to now, to, her nationals performances, where she has, not one but 3 Lutzes. And I just think, to be out of all the ladies, we've seen the biggest, improvement from her, like, throughout this season, and I don't think that's biased at all for me to say. It's just, obviously, her big thing is this season is proving the haters wrong, proving that she's not too old to compete, that she can, keep up with the Russian babies, and, that fire and that, attack is what I really love about her skating, and I think definitely she has a shot at making the world's podium. I mean, if she skates the way she did at nationals, even with, the questionable edge call, I think she will, make it hard for the other ladies to challenge her. Another thing with Ashley's programs that's, a small error, relatively easy to fix, but it's kind of a little bit concerning. It's her spin levels. She hasn't been getting them, especially at the end of her long program. She seems to be like running out of time and rushing that spin. And she did say recently that she was trying to work on that, and it's an easy thing to fix. But I'm just worried that, if I am confident in her going into Worlds, but I think that if these mistakes do add up, that could be costly.
I agree. She does manage to get the spin levels in the short program. I've noticed that. But there's something about the long program. I don't know if it's struggling with stamina. I do remember her saying that spins are her least favorite element in skating. But I hope that she starts getting those, because those are easy points she's giving up, especially when she could be challenging for a higher. I'd say she's the favorite for the bronze, but she could be challenging for the higher up. Right now she has a higher base value than Elizaveta, without the triple axel, obviously. But yeah, no.
And the thing that I've seen with Ashley's long is after she does the Lutz toe, and then the double axel double toe, and then after the death drop, after that, there's this part, she does another spin right after the death drop. And I've noticed, like, it goes so perfectly to the music, but, like, the hair cutter is, like, 5 rotations, which is kind of weird. And, like, the rotations don't quite add up, but it goes so well to the music, so it's kind of a trade-off of that. But a thing that I really think is interesting is that in the free, at the Grand Prix final, Ashley got higher component scores, just barely, but still higher component scores than Radionova, and now with the base value, if she can put it together, she could be challenging for possibly kind of outside shots. But if she is flawless, the judges are willing to give her, well, not give her, but rather she'll
Reward
earn
her.
yes, she'll earn the components that the judges will reward her if she can go flawlessly, and I think she could definitely possibly challenge for silver, maybe even gold, but that's being a little presumptuous.
I agree. And then we also have the men's competition. We may or may not see the Olympic champion Yuzuru Hanyu. Obviously, with all his bad luck this season, he's been injured. He's been in the hospital with stomach surgery. He had the crazy collision at Cup of China that left him concussed. Not having a great season luck-wise. He did have very, very strong performances at the Grand Prix final, but that was the best we've seen of him, in all honesty. And nobody knows what state he's in.
And even then, at the Grand Prix final, he fell on the triple Lutz in the long. I think he fell on the same triple Lutz in the short, and he was not leading after the short. Or was he?
He was leading after the short.
But it wasn't a clean performance, I don't think.
No. But what was interesting about his Grand Prix final long program is that he landed a beautiful quad Salchow. It was the best of his career by far, because usually that's kind of a planned fall. He usually falls on it every single time, but he nailed it. It was incredible. But if he goes out and does that again, he's got the world title up, but it depends on how well Dennis competes, in my opinion. I think that if Dennis goes out, repeats what he did, or close to what he did at Four Continents, he might, I don't know, he might actually beat Yuzuru if Yuzuru is not clean.
Yeah, I think it depends on his, overall condition at this point, if we're speaking of Yuzuru, because obviously he's coming off of, injury and all these, being in the hospital and all these things. But I think for the first time, well, not for the first time, but it's very different from last season where he was, he took the Grand Prix final gold and Olympic gold and world gold, and it kept building for him. And I think this season, whether you attribute it to bad luck or, whatever it is, he doesn't seem to have that going for him. He doesn't have the momentum going into Worlds. And I think, I don't know, I hesitate to make a prediction on him because it could go either way. I mean, judges have tended to favor him even when he didn't perform, to the best of his ability. They have given him generous marks throughout the season. But if he, really falls apart, then I don't think there's any way that generous scoring could save him. And I do hope for the best. Obviously, at Worlds, I'm rooting for him, but I just think it's really hard to say.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And then, of course, we also have kind of a fight for the bronze after the European Championships because Javier Fernandez did not pull out very good performances, and he's been kind of off and on all season. I really like his short program a lot. I think it's perfect for him, suits him really well, but then he has to maintain his composure or else he could lose that bronze because there are people waiting and they're hungry.
Oh, definitely. And then there are so many wild cards like Adam. I'm sure people have said, oh, he's not going to medal at Worlds after what he did at Four Continents. But if he can do what he does at Nationals, he's a contender. Josh was amazing at Nationals and Four Continents. He's a contender. And they're just exactly like you said, there are so many people that want that world medal and are plenty capable of getting it and worthy of it, quite frankly. And it's just, it really is going to be a great competition. But yeah, with Javi, I think if he can go clean in both, I think he'll, based on reputation and past performances, he's a 2-time world bronze medalist already. He's a 3-time European champion, I believe. And so he has the judges and the reputation on his side. So if he goes clean, I think he's got the bronze. But that hasn't happened yet this season. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for the people for the skaters below him to take that bronze medal away.
Yeah, and just to talk a little bit about Adam, because if he lands that quad Lutz, he managed to land it cleanly, then I think that he could put himself in the fight for a medal as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Oh, he was just electric at nationals. I personally believe, and I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say this, I think he should have won nationals. I mean, Jason had a great skate. He really did in the long and the short. He was the most consistent competitor at nationals. Jason was. But when Adam just sparks a fire. He just lights it up in that free program, especially. And I love his new short program. I think his choreography is amazing. After he retires, he should definitely continue the choreography. He really did great in that department. And I do think he was definitely underscored in the short at nationals and probably would have been the national champion had he been scored correctly. But he can definitely also win that world bronze medal if he's in nationals and even better form. What do you think, Kathy?
Yeah, I have high hopes for Adam, but I don't know. I hesitate to make, a prediction about him either because when he's on, obviously he's on. He has, very ambitious technical content with that quad Lutz, but it doesn't it's not consistent, obviously, and it'll depend on. I think it's a mental game at this point for Adam, and it'll depend on what his mindset is, how he doesn't really have any pressure going into Worlds, but besides maintaining the third men's spot, but it'll all depend on how he just handles the atmosphere, handles the competition, and how he goes into it, like his mindset going into it.
Yeah, he needs to skate angry. We saw at nationals, he was at his best when he is skating angry, and I think probably wasn't best for his reputation that he didn't do so well at Four Continents. But I have a feeling this will motivate him to do even better at Worlds, and I think this will make him hungry to prove himself that he deserves to be on the team after so many off years. Because he is one of the most complete skaters in the field right now. He has amazing spins, he has the technical content, he has this amazing connection to the music, he just has to put it all together.
Definitely. If he can find what Ashley found at the Grand Prix final after she was last, after the short, and did what she did in the long, I think he can definitely, like you said, skate angry and skate determined and sharp and fierce. Because he just has everything. And another skater that wasn't totally clean at Four Continents was Han Yan, who could also definitely take that bronze medal. There are just so many contenders.
Yeah, and you forget, even with all the emphasis on Yuzuru in the collision, Han Yan was the other person in that collision. He made a very strong comeback from that. It was very nice to see.
For sure.
All right, and then we also have ice dance. Obviously, Weaver and Poche are favored for that title after their strong performances at the Grand Prix final and at Four Continents. What I find the most interesting about ice dance is where Talk and Bates and Papadakis and Cicerone will place.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, I think it'll be for the gold. I think it'll be a battle between Weaver, Poge, and Papadakis Cicerone, because obviously they've both been incredible this season. But if I had to pick a favorite, I would say Weaver, Poge, just because they've proved that they can come back. Like, for example, they were third after the short at Four Continents, but that didn't faze them at all. They came back so strong. They were virtually perfect in the free dance, and I just think they have that ability as competitors to stay, cool-minded and level-headed and just put out the best that they can put out. So.
I agree, and there's also a couple of other interesting entries from Europeans. We have the last year's world champions, kind of a surprise world champions, Cappellini and Lenote. We also have Elena Ilianik and Ruslan Shiganson. I'm not sure where they will place after this. Elena and Ruslan did not medal at Euros, but especially with that short dance of theirs, I think that they have the capability of placing high. And it'll be very interesting to see where Cappellini and Lenote will be placed, because they have not had a good season.
I have very strong feelings about Cappellini and Lenote. Okay, let me tell you. So I was watching Worlds, last year's Worlds in Saitama, the ice dance competition again, and like it was so good. Basically, it was a three-way tie for the gold. Like they all won the gold medal. All of those teams. It was Cappellini, Lenote, Weaver and Pose, and Pécholat and Borzak. But in the free, Pécholat and Borzak, they've been behind Davis and White and Virtue and Moya for so long. It would always be like every competition that those three would enter, it would usually be Davis and White, Virtue and Moyer, or Virtue and Moyer, Davis and White, and then it would be Pécholat and Borzak. They were always next in line. And their skating is just so lovely. They had such creative programs, such an incredible choreography. I thought they had that world title. And it was interesting with Cappellini. Sorry, I'm getting a little off track there, but it was interesting to see with Cappellini and Lenote. They had a really, really rough start at Cup of China. I mean, they won the bronze, but Shibutanis and Papadakis and Cicerone beat them there, and they were much better at Europeans, but their scores were beatable, and their programs were forgettable, quite frankly. And they don't have the momentum for them.
Yeah, I don't see them on the world podium, unfortunately. I like them, but I don't see them on the world podium. They've been struggling all season. I'm honestly, if I were them, if they want to stick around, I would start focusing on next season personally, immediately after Worlds, because I really want to see them do well. I would love to see them prove that they earned that world title and prove why they earned that world title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
And then moving on, we talked a little bit about the pairs already. Obviously, Duhamel and Radford now heavily, heavily favored to win now that Stolbova and Klimov are out. We also have another pair that we have not discussed yet who competed at Euros. Valentina Marche and Andrei Hotarik. Love them. Love how well she's adjusted to pairs so quickly. And they have the best side-by-side Lutz in the field. I have to say, they are so good.
So good. Oh my god. Like, I was screaming with the Eurosport commentators at their short program, like with them. They were like, oh my god, and I was like, oh my god, and they just have such connection already to the music, to themselves, like to each other, to the audience, and that takes so many years to produce. It should, but they have it already, and they're free. Valentina was one of my favorite single skaters when she was competing in singles. I always thought she was undermarked, especially in the component department. She just always put out such great programs and was always so committed and always sold it. Always should have gotten higher interpretation marks. And I think now that she's in pairs with Andre, they really, really, really have really bright futures. And I think are going to bode really well here at Worlds.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I'm super impressed with them and their chemistry and everything that they've done, because I remember at the beginning of the season, when Valentina first announced she was trying pairs, I was dubious, to say the least, and I was like, is this gonna work? I don't know, but I'm so glad she did, because the results, I was so surprised, but pleasantly, at Euros, at their Euros placement and just performances, and they work so well together, and it's uncanny to see them, achieve that in such a short period of time, and the way that they, connect to their music, their synchronicity is unbelievable, because, like you said, Will, that takes years to build that connection between the pairs, and the fact that they have some of the hardest, technical content in the field is also very impressive because, as a new pairs team, sometimes you're tentative or you don't want to put the, big elements out there, but they're not holding back, and I think it's really paying off for them.
Yeah, they only competed a double twist at Euros, if I remember correctly, but I do remember reading that they are planning on putting that into their performances at Worlds. When Andre Hotarik split with Stefania Burton, I was really skeptical at first because I thought they were very solid pairs, and with all the splits, I thought they could move up, especially because they did have a decent season last season. They won Skate Canada. But I'm very impressed with them. I think I like Andre better with Valentina. I do hope for the best with Stefania. I like her a lot as well. It's just I am very, very impressed with Valentina and Andre.
Me too. And another country that is just so noteworthy in pair skating is Russia. They just have such a deep field, and with Stolbova and Klimov out, I think it's definitely Kavaguti and Smirnov's time to establish themselves as one of the best Russian teams. I mean, they already are, but I think it'll be really good for them to not have Stolbova and Klimov kind of impending.
I agree.
In that Worlds, and I love both of their programs so much. I never like they were always kind of there and like successful, but I never felt like this like longing for them. Like I never have like rewatched their programs. I've never done that with them, but like I rewatched their Skate America free skate like often. Like and their short program is just exquisite. And yeah, they just do a really good job. So I'm hoping they can do a good job at World.
I agree. I think that they and the Chinese pair teams, they're there to, if somehow Duhamel and Radford do not do well, I think they're there if they skate perfectly, and they could take it much like how they took the European title from Stolbova and Klimov. I also love their programs, especially their short. She is so transcendent in particular. She is fantastic. I really hope that they do well, and that they have a successful comeback after missing the Olympic season last year due to injury. I love them a lot.
Yeah, and so I'm sort of curious, how do you guys see, I know we talked about this with Four Continents, but how do you guys see, the Chinese pairs placing in terms of like relative placement? Because, I'm not certain at this point, like, how they're going to, like, how it's going to play out. So I want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting, like, intra-national competition with China, and with Worlds being in China. I don't think there's going to be biased judging. And even if there was, I wouldn't be upset, particularly because I love these Chinese teams so much, but I don't like biased judging, but I don't think anyone does. Anyway, I think the three Chinese teams are so strong, but in such different areas. I think Pang and Tong are just the veterans. They're the veterans, they're experienced, their programs are exquisite, they have such amazing throws. They didn't have the best technical content. I know she doubled out popped a couple of the side-by-side jumps in the long. The side-by-side jumps seem to be their weakness, just judging from Four Continents, but they're just exquisite. They're just amazing. And Sui and Han are so dynamic. They're just so powerful and so strong, and the judges love them, and rightfully so. And they put up those big scores, as do Peng and Zhang. But Peng and Zhang don't have the dynamism that Sui and Han do, but they have their firepower is more subtle, and I think they have fantastic choreography, and the sharpness of their moves and the utilization of the music is really, really top notch with that team. So I think I have feeling Sui and Han will be on top of the Chinese order. I think it's going to be Sui and Han. I'm hoping for Peng and Tong. I think it's going to be Sui and Han, Peng and Tong, and Peng and Zhang.
Yeah. It all depends. Like, we could have two Chinese pair teams on the podium easily, but it all depends on how well Kawaguchi and Smirnov skate. It's basically all that it's dependent on. I would really love to see, personally for me, I would love to see either Peng and Tong or Sui and Han on the podium. I do like Peng and Zhang, but they don't capture me like Sui and Han or Peng and Tong do personally.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that's about it that we have to say. Anything else, you guys?
I think we're good.
All right. So that concludes our first podcast. We'll be back for Worlds. We'll do a nice full Worlds recap. You can follow us on our Twitter at Lutz and Glory. All right. So I'm Bronwyn.
I'm Will.
I'm Kathy.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.